Hello, everyone. Well, we've been so busy. We had the Manitoba gathering several days ago. um, Keeping much track of these, so several days was, I believe, seventh. Yeah, okay, yeah, we had seventh last day, the day prior to the gate opening of the 8-8 portal. So great. Our host there was Lena Diamond, and she was so beautiful and so accommodating to us. Grateful for her hosting that event. So, and as always, every um, every gathering is so successful, and it's just so great to see the ones that we come into contact with, feel their energy, and everything that transpires during the event. Now, with the Manitoba gathering, it was an extended period of several days, and that gathering was unique, the way each one is. So we had that gathering, I believe, set for 1 o'clock on Wednesday the 7th. We had two others besides the team that joined there, so there were five of us, and we talked and did things, for the most part, for several hours. And uh, and what occurred over the next couple days is that there were others that could not make that time, but they did arrive later. And later that first evening, another divine masculine arrived, Helgi, which I love very much, and he's so in tuned. Uh, with so many different aspects, as well as Maureen. She was with us all day, and she actually stayed overnight and stayed for the next day. And Helen and Lena and Maureen went out and did some energy work on a house, on a location, which was very interesting because Helen's a medium and intuitive and you name it as well. And so is Maureen, that we met there in Manitoba, which has many, many gifts and us all. So you can imagine, gifts firing it can be, but also how important it can be. And that's also another aspect of this mission. And for example, in Manitoba, we were right near beside Lake Winnipeg, and previous to that, we had stopped beside Lake Manitoba, the team, and did a blast. Part of what we've been doing, uh, even Alberta, was we have found ourselves needing to bless of water, and I can assure you that yes, you can see the confirmations that our work does work very quickly, and that it is very powerful. So we are finding ourselves divinely multitasking at these gatherings as well, and so it's all inclusive with, let's say, whatever arises at the gatherings, in lines with energy work, divine work, that uh, there is no agenda written for it. There is no script. We just go with the divine flow and whatever areas that may take us into, like ghost busting or what have you. We go there and we do it. So it's very exciting. It's very gratifying, uniting with the other, and sharing the gifts and the knowledge, and also the codes that are shared on another level that may not be so recognizable, but that does occur, and that's the important part of these gatherings as well. Every gathering is successful, as I mentioned, whether there's only one at a gathering or a meetup, or if there's 40. You know, it's all over the board with how many attends, but every gathering is exactly and divinely how it must go. So having said that, you know, along the road, I just put out several posts showing about tentative and one concrete gathering that we have upcoming in Ontario. And what's occurring in Ontario, you know, one of the reasons, it's a large province, and because it's a large province, to to more accommodate the ones we need to get to, we're going to have several little gatherings, perhaps, is what we're looking at. So on our tentative Ascension route map that we had put out, you know, we kind of said every weekend we'd be in a different area as we traveled across Canada. But what we're doing now is we're not restricted to the weekends, middle of the week, you know, and just so as long as we keep this moving forward, and we intend to be in Nova Scotia, if that's where we need to be, about mid or third week of September, and from there we'll see if we are there, how far things have transpired and progressed in the world, to see if we are required to go any further. Again, what I can attest, since we started this journey, in conjunction with it, we are seeing many things occur in the outside world, and it's a definite effect. And so we continue forward with these gatherings and connecting and uniting with as many as we can. So, and again, it's so important to unite. That is what this ascension is about. It's not about separation. It's more or less everyone coming together with their one belief of themselves and connected to God. That's what takes you out of these lower places. It takes you out of the darkness. Your beliefs are very important where they may direct you. We got a couple mosquitoes here. So, you know, one of the easiest ways out, everyone perhaps teaches different things on different beliefs. Basically, what I teach is empower the one, connect back to prime creator, and you don't need the lesser beliefs unless it's for you. You know, you have an opportunity at this time to raise so high, and where your focus goes, your energy goes, and if your belief goes to you know, some lesser beliefs that you are not one with God, or that you can be controlled by an alien race or what have you, well, that will suppress you, because you're becoming co-creators and co-creators to the level where they're allowed to manifest. You manifest by your thoughts and also by your beliefs and what you have in your heart. So we are in very important times with that. More of you are finding you need to be more meticulous even in your wording, because your wording is an energy as well. It's a vibration, and a vibration and energy, that is all creation. And you need to know that you are affecting creation and your outside reality by your voice, and also the underlying energy with it. So you need, and it's, I could get more extensive on that, but it won't. This is supposed to be about the Manitoba gathering for the first part. So getting back to that, we had about, I think overall there was about 9 of us over several days that attended that gathering, and again, you know, we cannot I cannot fully give it justice of how beautiful these gatherings are, and what all occurs. I can purvey to you the highlights, but again, as you know, over couple days, so much transpires that I try to just give you the highlights of that. And again, we're not recording or doing an audio on these updates, so we just I'll keep giving you out the highlights of what occurs. It would just be too extensive to do it, and it doesn't really serve a purpose for what we are doing. So great. Very quickly, chemicals, I put out a post the other day just letting you know about some of the pollution that had happened in the 4D, 3D, and the lines of, mercury on up on that was dumped. Let's say I wrote it down. There was around 9,000 kgs over a period of a few years that were dumped in. It was methyl mercury. Yeah, it was dumped into the water system near the Manitoba border from Dryden. We're close to Dryden, Ontario now, and that filters into the Hudson Bay. But it's not only that. People just looks at rivers and waterways and tributaries, but what everyone needs to, keep in mind here, even with the future as we clean up the planet, that you have a water table and you have many underground streams. And, it is also known that under these lakes, that there are also streams that come out from them. So not only when chemicals are put in the ground, do they affect just the waterways that you can see from the air? There's a massive and more extensive underground networking of water tables, aquifers, water streams, even rivers. There are rivers underground as well. So you can see how extensive it is. So it's just not, when you pollute one part of the water on the surface, it is much more extensive underground where it's not seen the effects that it's having, but you do see them later on. However, we're here to clean it up. So Lake Winnipeg, Lake Manitoba, God's Lake up in Alberta Beach and Alberta, several places we've been doing energy work and purifying the waters there. So, as we go, there's been, Gaia has been contaminated to great degrees. That is also another reason why we are ascending and purifying. However, it's good for ones that are awakening to become educated, to know, not to do these things, but also to justify why let's say us advocates are against the chemical plants, the gas and oil production, and the extensive fracking, you name it, pipelines, and I'm going to say it, in reality, there is not a use for fossil fuels upon this planet. Once we get everything cleaned up, the technology has been here that you do not require them. And it's going to undergo very rapid change. There will not be an oil and gas industry in the futures here, and that can stop very abruptly. And as most of you know, upon landings, when they do occur, that very quickly changes everything. Also, with even more technologies over the course of the last 123 years. There has been much technology delivered to the planet, from our galactic friends that was, let's say, confiscated by the dark. But when we break down, thus, so the tech will be very rapidly revealed. And one of the indications, perhaps, you can see where many patents, I believe, were released by the Trump regime, or the Trump, whatever you would call it. It was released anyhow several months ago, so these are new technologies as well. But not only that, you see it showing up everywhere, new technologies to clean the oceans, clean the lakes, and clean everything up. And this also takes the timelines into 5D. So again, at Manitoba, yeah, we did some more clearing. I can share at this point, we also uh, did some major 5D ley line and nodule work there as well. So we shifted some things around for the 5D. And what I will say, we were in Matlock, Manitoba, north of Winnipeg, is there will be great changes that will be witnessed there in good ways. You know, even the slightest of the good, the demeanor in people as well. It will also at first cause tension, because what occurs, we bring such a light force as a nodule there. The first thing it does is begin emanating light outward, and if there's any darkness that's in the vicinity of that light, it becomes compressed, and then it comes to the surface that more can see it. You know, be it a chemical plant dumping, what you will see is immediately that it's being exposed or revealed, because negativity cannot exist within the light, and it brings it all to the surface in much the same way that all of the corruption globally is being revealed to you. So it's we had great work with that, and we attached a few ley lines. We got some more work we will be doing with that area in the future, but for what we don't need to physically be there. We can work remotely, but also we have caretakers in that area, if you will, or gatekeepers, you may wish to call them, of the light for those areas. So that's all taken care of. So very quickly, like we did not have a gathering in Saskatchewan, which was very interesting, but there were several things occurring there that divine timing did not allow for it, but we had such many rapid changes from our prior work in the timelines that it created kind of like a void there, but we knew that would come. And you know, just very quickly driving across, I spent a lot of time in Alberta physically in the past, but driving across Alberta and Saskatchewan, you know, it became just so blatant how Gaia was harmed in so many ways there. I mean, you can see it in the lakes, you can see it in the water, and everything. So we did much healing coming across there. But I mean, if you look at Alberta and Saskatchewan, for the most part, you know, a lot of that water, because of the, you know, the drilling and extraction of the oil in those areas, and the fluids used, and the changing of waterways, you know, when they're drilling looking for oil, if you hit an underground waterway, you change direction or course sometimes, and it's diverted. And so you might, let's say for instance, have an oil reservoir that it's all by itself, but if you change waterways, then you could also have that oil to some degree going into the waters. So there's many things that occur. And I know the first thing you're going to say is that generally some oil reservoirs are deep, but you need to know also that water goes right from the crust right down to the mantle, goes right from the surface right down to, you could say, to the core of Gaia. You have your hydrothermal waters, which are heated up, you know, from the center of the earth to keep it simple. But what I'm saying, it's all inclusive. Water does run very deep. So without getting into that too much, I'm trying to get this done as quick as I can, but as you know, I ramble on sometimes. So Yes, so we had again quite a gathering. Went on for several days at Elena Diamond, and many special people dropped by. Many, well, six others, but that's many to I, which is great. So what else we got down here? Thunder Bay area. So far, we have no interest. It's looking like that we're going to just keep moving straight to Sault Ste. Marie for August 17th weekend. Uh, so we'll be this week. We will be going between there. Right now, we're close to Dryden, so anyone in between, let's say Dryden and Sault Ste. Marie, if we're traveling, if you send us a message or however, if you're on the route and uh, if something comes up, we may be able to have a gathering. What it's looking like tentatively, just looking at the calendar, tentatively, between Thunder Bay and Sault Ste. Marie, there might be a gap on the 14th or 15th, Wednesday or Thursday, if someone's along that route, let's say halfway in between, we may meet up. Otherwise, we're looking like around 17th and 18th for Sault Ste. Marie. So I put that out. Okay. Looks like RV stuff is going on. I don't need to get into that other than what I'm seeing for concrete supporting evidence for the RV. I'm considering it pretty substantial, and again, it's it's incontestable, let's say, preparation for it. And again, I was given last February, I was doing a live with Linda Summers. We were doing an interview. And at that time, I believe it was February, that before that time, what I was given from Father and Divine Counsel was that we could experience the RV timeline. I really wanted to get things done and get out of here, on the surface and go on and enjoy other things. And I would have rather to skip those timelines to the place where, we didn't need money at all, that it was a moneyless society, and then also leave. However, at that time, I was given that Father said, like in February, to say no, that it is imminent, the RV, and that we would be on that timeline. And so it is coming to fruition. And again, with, the RV timeline and schematics. It's been going on for several years, and but it does come to fruition. And really, in the past, no one could put a time on it, but recent preparations that I've been seeing, that's been documented concrete through forms of, let's say, governments and also with the banks, that it is occurring. And also debt forgiveness. I put that out the other day, an example of it, because debt is an illusion and everything is tumbling. Also, not only do we have the RV, the reevaluation of currencies, we also have what we call prosperity funds. And now these are linked to several, let's say, several vast riches that needs to be taken into consideration when they're revealed to the public, because they are huge stores of wealth. And let me say that some of them, these stores of wealth, actually could rival what the Vatican has in gold. And as you know, the Vatican was labeled a while back the richest institution upon the planet. But let me say, things can change in a very quick heartbeat. And if these ancient hidden treasures, I'll put them, if they're brought to the surface, that changes many things with the money as well. So we have the QFS is getting set up to accommodate the huge influx of money that will come from the RV and also prosperity funds, which I wish to like to keep a little bit separate. So there are good things happening. Don't ask me dates. I'm always giving it soon, and it's just not given a date on it. Soon could be, in a moment. It could be in a year. But again, we'll say it's imminent, and with the concrete signs we're seeing on what I call the 4D level, it is very close. So, great. I wish to, so at our Manitoba gathering, I wish to express my love and gratitude for Helgi that joined, Maureen, and of course Elena, our host. I love her so much, and Adam and Chris and Cindy. And let me say, if you look at that, what we actually had was a 50-50 of masculine to feminine, which was a very interesting number with this. And let me also say that the divine masculine, that I'm very impressed to meet some more brothers that were very powerful and advanced too, and just so much appreciation with that. And also, I was very fortunate what we older spiritual ones may call the crystal children, a very powerful crystal divine masculine, though, because he's about I believe 22 years old. I was so appreciative to meet him and to listen to his wisdom and his knowledge that he had intact, because he's a huge representation of those generations what are going to be taking over things here, and assuring that it stays at least in the minimum on track to advance humanity out of the savagery. So it was just so beautiful and gratifying to see a representation from that generation, and from the masculine as well. And again, it's just so beautiful to see these things. So sovereignty, as you know, I mentioned this a bit ago, that is coming to the forefront more than ever. With that, I encourage all of you, if it resonates, to get more informed on sovereignty decrees, some paperwork you may wish to have in place if you feel so. Let me say, at the end of the day, for divinity and what you are, you don't require paperwork. However, in these lower dimensions, to act as something concrete, some of you may wish to have that in place. So now's the time, if you're not familiar with it. And when I say the word, sovereignty, it may be a great time to get familiar with it as well. So, because that is occurring. So, trying to keep this short, looking at any other highlights. I didn't compile a full list of highlights. We get busy traveling and things as well, and we don't drive very fast. We go about 50 mile an hour, 80 kilometers. So it takes us a while to get to travel, and but that's great, and we conserve gas that way, and in a motorhome for sure. And so we keep going along, and we keep stopping and places where we need to as well. Sometimes we're guided along a route to stop, and do a little bit of energy work, paint a pink heart on a rock to leave behind if someone else comes, in the future. So to leave a symbol of the love, what we are, and the light. So we do that. Sometimes we don't, and not in all the locations, but we will try to do in most of the locations that we visit or stop at. And we typically do not stop in campgrounds or like RV sites where you can camp. That's not what we're about. And we typically we did it a couple times, but it was pretty cheap. But what we do is when you look at let's say three of us having showers, well, $5 a shower, that's $15. And if you stop into um, a campsite where you can get internet and have the showers and only got to pay $20, well, you might as well stop there. It makes common sense as well. So we do occasionally, but for the most part, no. Where we stop at is in locations when we're traveling that we usually don't have to pay anything. And of course, when we're in the area of a gathering, we have hosts, so we don't need to pay to stay there. So that assists and helps us keep conserve, um, until some bigger things come into play here that we may not even need to do what we're doing. Once the RV, if that comes in here, um, very quickly. Well, that's going to change everything very rapidly as well. And but meanwhile, we keep going forward. That's why we're doing this, and to assure that these great changes do come. And again, the unity is so important, and empowering each one of us to stand all together in divinity and unity. And that way we change everything and change it all to the good and to the light. Many of you, at these points, you don't need the darkness anymore, the negativity. You come to a level that you can replace that with light. Now, this is not to say and this is starting to touch on another important subject. Recently, in the last few weeks, empaths, which you all are, and I had a post written a few weeks ago that I didn't put out yet. Your sensitivities are becoming more enhanced. So you you may wish to look at old ways and techniques that you had with dealing with that. You may need to increase them. I know I did. I do, because I was on an automatic system with dealing with negativity, like being a conduit, being a pain taker. I take it in, but I'm on automatic that I really didn't need to do it manually to transmute it. However, what I'm seeing now, because this physical vessel as well has become so much more sensitive, like many of you, that the old techniques, at least for I, no longer work like they did. So I need to go in and do some inner work to the degree that I got to readjust how I was operating before with the energies. Because we are in new times, we are in higher timelines with these physical vessels, where um, physics as you knew it as well begins to change. But not only that, with your own powers and how we must evolve further. And having said that, telepathy is also raising, and many other special gifts. So we do perhaps at times need to reevaluate our old techniques of how we operated in the lower dimensional timelines, because as I said, everything keeps changing. It's under constant change the higher we go. You are evolving within, but you're also evolving as an energetic being on our way back. Every time we have an upward shift, you change, you do. And once you have so many of those upward shifts that you go so far, you need to recalibrate ways to accommodate, the new you, the new higher you, the new vibrations, because things become different. And again, I say I put out posts a few times, and this is up to the one how you wish to perceive it or perspected. But one thing I said is that truths are not constant. There are fundamental truths, but not all truths, because again, and in one way they will change. One way that you had thought things were a certain way, and let's say that you dealt with them a certain way, that was a truth then. But also, as you evolve higher, you will see that the old ways no longer work. So that's another example of truths constantly changing, and it's why it's best that you just keep open with it and don't have a judgment or a concrete idea of how things work. Keep it open and allow it to flow is what I suggest, and that way you are given the information more freely with it. Because again, we are in the most uh, amazing, auspicious times ever, and none of this has been written about in history. So you're not going to find it in the mainstream history, if you will. You're going to find it from your spiritual comrades, your channelers, the ones that are ascension teachers, from yourself. It's delivered in many ways, some through the written form, some through you receiving it directly, and some through word of mouth. But those are the ways, uh, to receive the truth. The truth, it was not in the past delivered on, mainstream media and public media. Although I will say that I'm very grateful to see, some. Let's say some TV stations having programs to further enhance that all the while. So there is some good stuff out there in the mainstream, but as you knew, most of the truth was limited, but it's expanding more and more as we go on. And again, recently what we had at the Manitoba gathering, Helgi mentioned to me he thought that the sealed indictments were up to about 160,000. I never checked that lately, but that is a very appreciable number as well, because where the sealed indictments are up that far, that's showing that it is identifying many more. Let me say um, that if you take all of those discriminated, or um, all of those that true justice will be served upon in the near futures, you're looking at millions, because it's all over. It's all over Gaia. It's everywhere, and you're seeing it come out in different countries as well. But it's so beautiful. As an indicator, I use the seal indictments for the U.S. as an indicator, of the whole as well, because as we know, the main domino to set everything off to the good rapid change is in the U.S., and that is occurring. We're right amidst of that, almost, what I like to say, almost completed with that. So very rapidly things are imploding, and they'll continue. And So it's great, Epstein, a lot of information released on that. I have not had the time to review documents, or I don't have the time to review a couple thousand pages, let me say that. But what I'm saying is that I also have not seen yet um, that I was able to review some of the other light workers, that go through it, dig out all the important stuff and put it out for us. I have not had the liberty yet to go and review some of that to keep up to date on it. But as we know, the political arena, it is still connected to what we're doing, but we also see it imploding and see incontestable evidence of that daily and almost hourly. So great. Sovereignty, looked at that. Just seeing what else I had wrote down here. What I wish to say again, just to go back with these gatherings, who's supposed to be there is, we are in the times of great unity and the transfer of gifts, codes, whatever you wish to call them, and energies mixing together and activating channels of telepathy and what have you. It's all inclusive. So again, it's so important. Our intentions are to keep moving forward at this time. We go by divinity with what's where we must go. And I will say that also the last couple days, that what occurs is that we are definitely causing rapid change. The more we connect with and make the unity, and what that also does, it affects the outside reality where events change rapidly, because we are creators and events are a part of creation as well on a much deeper scale. And with the dynamics of all creation, not only do we affect ourselves, we affect everything, because everything is all interconnected. And when you have the light to the degree that we are and becoming stronger, when you have that unification, it has more profound and great effects on the outside reality, the timelines, and events. And what I'll say with that is that I know we are witnessing it here also from a small level, and there are times that we are kind of stopped, that we need to wait. um, I could say this a few ways, but I'll say it this way, that sometimes we need to wait for the timelines to catch up before we can proceed into another area, to put it one way. That's how much of an effect we are having. And I also wish to say that the areas we come through, that we also can glance back and see the effect we had in many different ways. One example, it's very cool here, what I share with you, what Helen and Sharon had witnessed last night. We come through a little town. We were trying to find a location to camp for the night. It was actually Vermilion Bay, and we went to three different campgrounds, and it did not suit what we were looking for. And so we did end up, finding a location out of Woods Road where it's free and, it's peaceful, that we can get, at least I can get my writings and things done. And, we take a time out from others so that we get away from those energies. However, having said that, last night we looked out back towards Vermilion Bay, and there was a pinkish glow, what Helen and Sharon was seeing, and it became very evident, and still was today, with the formation of clouds that would come out from that area as well, that were forming on their own, that just by us being there, the three of us going through that little town, we are also making change that we are not consciously, intentionally doing. It's just our presence, the unity, because there's three, powerful, advanced higher consciousness ones, and we do also affect things unintentionally, but in good ways. So, uh, having said that, we got the visual here last night and this morning, and again, we have the concrete evidence of what we are. This is not imaginary, delusional things, as most of you know, that works with energy and works with God and experiences all of this, that it's real. It's not phenomenon. It's not anomalies. It's it is by divine direction, and we do that. And these are the times that we're in, that we're allowed to know our effects, because we are in the co-creator status, where you are manifesting and playing a big role in creation here as well, and steering it with this ascension for all of humanity. So again, as many of you know, that this is a selfless journey, where you know what needs to be done, and you do not leave the restraints of the lower dimensions hold you back. So it's so beautiful to see more going out on the road to do that. And I wish to use, Todd Medina in Morgan Lee. I see they are embarking upon the journey, visiting the west coast of the U.S. and perhaps continuing across the U.S. and meeting, gathering with others. Marcos Lopez in Europe, I see he's made himself available for public speaking. But also maybe traveling around, meeting with others, and I have the utmost respect for all I mentioned. And Amanda Lawrence, I love her so much, and I know in the past she has made a few trips, and however, you may see her in the future traveling around, and as most of you know, she is so awesome as well. So you see us moving around more, and uniting and gathering, and the real good magic is happening with that. So great. That's long enough. I've been on here 47 minutes. So great. Put lots of posts out. I did about upcoming gatherings, and information on where they will be at. Most is tentative. As we get them concrete, we will be posting them. And just scrolling down, and hi, Lena. There she is. And so I'm really not taking any questions at this time. Contemplate perhaps doing upcoming interview middle of the week with a person, and we'll put that out live. We'll see what occurs with that. So pretty well. I'm done pretty well for today. So I love you all, and thank you, and thank you for making this possible as well, for the whole Ascension community supporting what we're doing divinely, and getting out there. Let me say that it is truly gratifying, and to receive this assistance that you're doing for the greater good for all. So this, again, the selfless act of supporting not only what we're doing with this Ascension Caravan, but all of the others that are out there spreading the light and creating the unity. My utmost thanks to everyone that's doing that. And yeah, we're all a part of it, and we all contribute in whatever manner in making this possible. And what I would say, this would not be occurring, what we're doing or any others, if it was not divinely ascertained to be done. And as we know, if you're not supposed to be doing something with divine guidance, it doesn't work out. But what I can say, this is working out very beautifully. And what I see it taking on a more specialized approach in certain gatherings. So um, we're not really advertising out there. We do have, I got sitting here in a folder. We do have flyers that we could go from a town and post out. However, that's not seeming like what we're supposed to be doing with this. We're supposed to be getting to the certain individuals, certain ones. So we are doing that. And that is the most effective way to do it. For example, you have heard before that one fully in their light could affect, let's say, 1 million upon uh, the surface. Well, if that holds true, then if we can get to just one and assist and give them everything we got too, and they become that powerful, well, you don't need to meet very many. You don't need to meet crowds of 500 or 8,000 people. When you you meet a few, that is done, and through the few, the codes are transferred down the lines. And what's occurring as well as we gather, we are picking up more information, more codes, more gifts. And then as we go forward to the next gathering, we have extra that we can pass on to the others as well. So we get everyone, let's say, equal with it. And that is it, the intent too. As we know, the pieces are maybe scattered out between all of us, but as we collect them and give them to the others and share them all, then everyone becomes even more empowered, and we shift upward as well. So great. So I believe we need to get moving. So I love you all, and I thank you all, and namaste and kiss, and I'll give and one wink for today, but that's a very important wink. So take care, and thank you so much, and we're doing it, and hopefully see you down the road, perhaps in the next town, and we can get together. No, just before I go, uh, Lena said she went down to Lake Winnipeg, where we were at. She was the host, and it's definitely clearing up. You can see more of the bottom further out. Now, thank you so much for that, Lena, because that is so important. And we also observed, that at God's Lake in Alberta there. At Alberta Beach. After we did the work, there were several divine feminine and and we could see the next day, the lake cleaning up from the algae. And these are the confirmations that we wish to see, and the more that sees them and passes them on to others, the more we change everything, and letting others know that it's real. And it's sometimes it's not enough for us just to say something. One needs to see it themselves and experience it to know it's true. And that's so invaluable when that occurs as well. So we always love the concrete outward confirmations as well. So I thank you so much, Elena. And I must go. Battery's getting low. Have a great day. I love you all. And woo! We keep going forward. And any of you, if you feel in your heart to support the Ascension mission, Well, there's a tab at the side of my Facebook page that you can support there, or if it's a larger amount, PM me and you can perhaps, if you wish, do an e-transfer or what have you. And we're conservative with our funds as we put out. The biggest thing is the gas, as anyone in Canada knows. In the certain provinces, that's pretty expensive. It's not like it's almost double in Canada what it is in the U.S. So that's a huge expense, but that's about our main expense, and we keep just going forward. So thank you, and I thank everyone that donated and sponsored so far. We needed funding about a week or so ago, and let me say, very rapidly when we needed that, it come in, and it was perfect timing, and I was so grateful to see it, and when you just it's so gratifying to see just when you ask that very quickly it come in, and I was just so grateful. I had tears of joy in my eyes, and Sharon and we're here, and I said, I put out the call, and boom, I said, look, here it is. It's coming in what we need, and very quickly, and we just keep going forward. So thank you again. Love you, and have a great day. And we're doing it. We're all doing it together. Thank you. Bye now.